Hello everyone, it's Zora, and welcome to my TTRPG tier list. I don't have a big backstory for this, I just thought it'd be fun to go through all my favorite tabletop RPGs, or all the tabletop RPGs I've played, and rank them in sort of a tier list. Full disclaimer, I've only been playing tabletop RPGs since 2016, so there's probably not that many on this list. And also, there's some games I've probably forgotten, or some games I've only played one session of, stuff like that. So this is only going to be games that I have really gotten into and played. Or maybe not gotten into if they're super low on the list. And we are going to start with the first tabletop game I designed my own campaign for, Call of Cthulhu. This game has a big special place in my heart because, like I said, it was the first time I had ever sat down and was like, okay, I'm going to design my own campaign for one of these games. Because at that point I had only run one other game, which we'll get to later. So I haven't played in so long, but sometimes I go back over the rulebook because I do have other game ideas in mind for it, and it's a solid system. I'll definitely list that at... I'm gonna put it at A tier right now. Good system. Great system. Next, the big boy, the big one. City of Mist. I don't know if I've talked about this much. I probably have, but this is my favorite tabletop RPG of all time. It's wonderful, fantastic system. I love the Apocalypse World system, and this does something super interesting with it. I need to make a dedicated City of Mist video at some point. But that's besides the point. Great system, wonderful concept. You play as reincarnated myths and legends in an urban fantasy setting, and solve mysteries, which are my three favorite things. You're going to see a lot of urban fantasy on this. But yeah, City of Mist is definitely an S tier game. And it only came out in like 2018? The physical books only came out in 2019. So, yeah. Great game. Please support it and check it out. It's absolutely wonderful. Next up is Deadlands. This is one of those games that I tried to run. I got like 2 or 3 sessions into it, and I just wasn't into it. I love the setting and the backstory for everything. It's a great alternate history, fantasy, steampunk horror, western. The problem is the system is so horribly imbalanced. It is a nightmare to run. Thankfully, I do have on my bookshelf Deadlands Reloaded, which uses the Savage World system. So Deadlands Reloaded is probably higher up, but this is definitely gonna have to go in C tier. If only for the really good lore. Next up, we have the granddaddy of them all. Oh god, really is the granddaddy because resolution is so much more than everyone else's. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. You know it. I know it. I don't know why. This is really not a good starter RPG. This is such a bad... Like, first time you play it, it's like, oh, tabletop RPGs are great, but there's so much bullcrap you just have to work around. And it's solid. You know, it's fine. It's functional. It does what it needs to do. And that's all that it does. So for that, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is going to C tier. But what would be my alternative to introducing someone to tabletop RPGs? Well, my good friend, that would be Dungeon World. Oh god, so big. All these resolutions. Where'd it go? Dungeon World. This is a hack of Dungeons & Dragons that uses the Apocalypse World system, which is my favorite. Mechanically, it's my favorite rule system because very rules light, narrative heavy. This is probably the most rules to it, so it's like, you know, people could still, if you could still bring this out at family board game night, but it's not going to take like 30 minutes for everyone to understand and set up. So Really solid, really fun. Definitely gonna put this at B tier. If only because it's good. It's not fantastic, it's good. Solid. Good game. More than functional, which is more that can be said for 5th edition. Next up is just kind of a catch-all. Fate. Fun, generic system. I've played a couple of games with it. I've played Dresden Files. I've played Icons. I think I've played a couple of just like generic games with it. Really solid system. Really good for having a more narrative focus with the aspect system. Only issue I feel like with getting people into it is that it requires like its custom die. Good tip for if you want to run something with Fate but don't want to get your own custom die. Give each player 2d6 of different colors. One is the plus die, one is the minus die, and that way you get around the same results. But instead of +4 to -4, it's +5 to -5. So, which is what Icons did. So, Fate is another good, solid, delicious B tier. Next up, we have Mage the Ascension. It might surprise you all to know this, considering how much I talk about it constantly on this channel. I actually haven't played that much of Mage, just because whenever I want to play World of Darkness, people always like, oh yeah, let's play Vampire, and I'm like, okay. Which Vampire is solid, you're going to see it later on this list, but Mage is really fascinating. I love the magic system, though again, much like Call of Cthulhu, it's a little unfriendly if you have a learning disorder, but a tradition I've gotten into is, whenever we do character creation for Mage the Ascension, I'm always like, okay, here's a spell you can do with your powers, let's make a roll, do the math, and so that way, when you want to cast a spell in the game, you know what you're getting in for. So, Mage the Ascension, I have run it before, obviously, just I only did one game of it. But I would love to run it again. Great system, solid lore, which is kind of a given for World of Darkness. So, really high A tier. Next up is another very, very special game to me. Shadowrun 5th edition. I said Call of Cthulhu was the first game I ever designed my own campaign for. Shadowrun is the first game I ever ran, period. I know. My first game I ever ran was Shadowrun. People are always surprised by my fortitude. And that's what led me down a rabbit hole into World of Darkness, which I super appreciate. Honestly, returning to Shadowrun, it's a mess. It's such a mess. System is really bad. It's clunky, but the lore is so good. It's just fascinating to me. So, for the lore alone and the fact that it's a fun mess, it's gotta be C tier. Love you, Shadowrun, but wow. Next up, we have a little surprising one, a little indie RPG, The Quiet Year. This is a really, really good RPG. Doesn't cost that much. I still want to get a physical copy of it, where you and a couple other people just sit around a table with a map, and you tell the story of this small post-apocalyptic community. You draw cards to determine random events, draw on the map, and that's it. It's really fascinating. There's no GM at all, so it's collaborative world building, which is something I love. I love games where the players and the game master build the world together. So really solid mechanics. Takes about an hour or two to run, and I can guarantee whatever community, with the right people, and you will be absolutely engrossed in your story. That's probably another B tier. Next up is another little oddball one, Urban Shadows. Another politics-based urban fantasy. I really like urban fantasy, okay? But using Apocalypse World. And it's Really fun. I'm running a game of it right now. A great system. It's a good game, but there's not really that much to say about it, is the thing. It's just really good. The art is gorgeous. If I remember, I'm gonna put some art up right here from the rulebook. It's a great game. That's another Ding Dang B tier. And lastly, the big, glaring, pulsating, cancerous emission from this game. Not cancerous. Or maybe. Maybe I secretly hate this game. Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. I feel like there shouldn't be a surprise that this is going right up to S tier. It is tied with City of Mist for my favorite RPG of all time. This is the game that made me fall in love with tabletop RPGs. It's my perfect game. It's dark, urban fantasy, a lot of politics, great world building, and super sexy. I love this game so much. It's so good. And I think it's a testament to City of Mist that it is tied with Vampire the Masquerade, a monolith of tabletop gaming. Great game. I'm super excited for Bloodlines. And it is, alongside City of Mist, my favorite RPG of all time. So here's my tabletop tier list. You'll probably notice there's nothing in D rank. That's because I generally try and avoid bad RPGs. Yeah, I'm looking at my shelf right now. There's nothing on here that I wouldn't want to run. So, yeah, really fun. Great games. Most of them. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, got a little bit of insight. Give it a couple of years and I might make an update with any new games I have and new opinions. So, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget there is a button for that, and please be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I do Let's Plays on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and on Thursdays, I generally talk about weird, nerdy tabletop RPG stuff. As always, my name is Aura, and Transvites.